Hello, everyone. Um, I'm actually really happy because I'm finally at the epilogue of the Danish Slaughterhouse. I have been waiting for this day to come. Just when I'm finally done with this fan fiction, and I just though I've never read it, even though I can't really claim that anymore. I can't really claim that. Oh, I've never read the Danish Slaughterhouse Innocence that I used to. Uh, But yeah, now that this is done and over with, this is going to be done and over with. If you have any fan fiction suggestions you want me to read, then just leave them in the comments. But for now, let's get started. There was a sort of tranquility in the atmosphere as the sun greeted the kingdom of Denmark, with its light giving the citizens a cloudless, clear sky as blue as the waters rippling near the Copenhagen shores and ports. Birds flew by overhead, filling the air with bird song that went along with the rustle of leaves as a gentle wind blew through the tree tops. The new morning was such a pure thing, the air clean and fresh, with the smell of pine and nature. This was the type of serenity everyone in the world would ask for, and yet, as Lucas lowered his cup of half-finished coffee onto its little coaster, there was no way for the man to fight the sense of taint that hid in the day. The feeling itself came at such odd times, too, for whenever he tried to pinpoint the exact source of this uncomfortable aura that followed him around like a ghost breathing down his neck, all he found was nothing, at least nothing he could deem reasonable. Uncrossing his legs, Lucas shifted in his chair so he could comfortably rest his elbow on the table and place his chin in his hand, his groggy eyes moving from his cup to the man sitting across the small table. His still lips betrayed no sort of amusement as he watched the other chomp into his overfilled pastry so ravenously that the cream and fruit filling squirted out the opposite end. Ugh, damn, Matthias cursed, licking the excess filling from his fingers. As he reached for his napkin, his eyes caught Lucas' silent stare. He slowly pulled his napkin to him and tilted his head. Hey, what's wrong, babe? He asked as he started wiping his hands in the table clean. Lucas' reply was a simple shake of his head, which wasn't enough for the day. Matthias tilted his head even more and gave Lucas a demanding look. Lucas? Nothing, Matthias, Lucas replied. He picked up his coffee mug once more and swirled it to mix any undissolved sugar into the caffeinated drink, knowing that, as usual, he may have added more than the coffee could melt. Matthias shook his own head to answer and laid his unfinished food on his plate. He leaned a little closer to his lover. Lucas, what's going on? Seriously. It's nothing, Matthias. Really, There's something wrong about this house, he wanted to say, but kept it to himself. It would have been too risky to speak aloud without adding that disgusting feeling of defilement grow stronger whenever he crossed paths with Matthias or exchanged even the most passive glances with those wide blue eyes. Lucas sighed at that little thought as he scolded himself, because what the hell could Matthias have even done to make Lucas feel this way? They haven't argued even once when he and the rest of the Nordics officially moved in, which came as a pleasant shock to the Norwegian man. No, he knew what it could be. Exhaustion. Waking up every day before the crack of dawn to do some needed innovations on their new mansion. And then traveling to Christiansborg Palace to spend dull long hours on sorting the last bit of needed government tasks was what kept draining Lucas of his energy and common sense. That was the reason Lucas stuck with as he shook off the recurring chills that overtook his body and took another sip of his drink. He frowned slightly at how cool it became and cleared his throat again. I guess, Dane, thought I. Somewhere behind the mansion, the tiny hill was rested on, a loud biting sound of a chainsaw cut through the relative quiet of the forest clearing, blocking out Lucas' voice as well as scaring away the few birds hidden in the nearby trees. Matthias grimaced and angled his ear toward Lucas. What? He shouted over the thundering noise. Lucas closed his mouth and stared at the metal surface of the table, waiting until Beryl was done sawing away the unruly bushes and shrubs to say anything else. Even when the chainsaw's motor had cut off, he didn't speak, instead turning his attention to the two youngest boys sitting cross-legged in the open space of grass. He watched as Peter jubilantly showed Emil the coolest way to build an entire empire with the new Lego set his daddy then bought for him, and Emil, ever the non-talkative teen, listened with a subtle scowl on his face, probably wishing he could use his cell phone already to call his boyfriend. The more he watched them play, though, the more their movements started to appear too unsure, forced, a stiff bend of their scarred arms or a slow, unsteady shake of their head. Even their speech, soft and low as it was too slurred. It was like they were feral prisoners, unsure of how to live their parts as newly freed children. Much like how Lucas have been lately. Lucas squeezed his eyes shut and pressed his fingers to his head, letting out a soft groan as he tried to physically rub the metal oddities out of his head. What the fuck is wrong with him? When he felt a gentle touch on his hand, he opened his eyes to Matthew's sweet, reassuring smile. Matthew lowered their hands from Lucas' head and ran a soothing thumb over Lucas' skin. Turning in his seat so his legs were exposed, Matthias patted his thigh and cocked an eyebrow. Lucas chuckled softly and stood, moving around the table with their hands still clasped together as he sat on Matthew's lap. Matthias then released Lucas' hand so he could wrap both his arms around his lover's waist. He nestled his chin in the crook of Lucas' neck and shoulder, his breath tickling Lucas' skin. They sat in that silent embrace, Matthias watching his boys play with each other. Lucas leaning into Matthias' arms so he could fight the urge to jump out of his lover's hold. As if he could sense the unease despite Lucas trying to relax himself, Matthias kissed Lucas' jaw and brought his lips to the other's ear. Hey, Nor, if it's that bad, we can call in an absence to our boss. Or maybe just send a mill in our place. He held on to Lucas tighter. And when we get down making the new ritual platform, we could nap all day. Once we bring Tino back. How's that sound? Lucas opened his mouth to respond, but his voice became caught in his throat, the tightening muscles in his neck choking him. So instead he inhaled sharply through his nose, which did nothing to help that cold, stinging sensation going up and down his body. It made him taste bile in the back of his throat. His heart was pumping so fast in his chest that he was going to scream. As flashes of a sweet round face played over and over in his head, always smiling, always flushed with that rosy tint on his cheeks. With the horrifying buzz-like static, Lucas could see that pink face go pale, the man's limp body lying in a pool of red. Lucas was slowly falling far away from the serene trees in the protective hold of his boyfriend's arms into a nightmarish pit where nothing made sense. Because Tino's death didn't make sense. Why did they need to revive him? Why was Tino dead in the first place? And Lucas continued to fall in that despairing pit. He didn't just see flashes of Tino's dead body, but of Peter's, of Beryl's, of Emil's, all of them mangled and bloodied with clothes cast off to the side, semen covering their thighs and buttocks. In a hushed, fatherly tone, Matthias whispered something into the tensed and unnervingly still Lucas' ear. Words he spoke, whispered so sweetly and reassuringly, were too familiar in Lucas's mind. Not just because it was in Lucas's ancient language, but because it held a sort of powerful message that chased away the awful seizure-inducing flashes. Somewhat against Lucas's will, the enchanting words made every muscle in Lucas's body relax. He was nothing more than a tired doll in Matthias' arms. He finally released his breath and hung his head. His vision pulling away from the repulsive sight, his mind was making up to the grass beneath his feet. You okay, Lucas? Matthias asked. Lucas wordlessly nodded and dug his fingers into Matthias' arm to ground himself to the present. Good, Matthias said. He planted another, wetter kiss on Lucas' jaw and nuzzled his nose into the tuft of hair at the nape of Lucas' neck. Like I said, we revived Tino, and you can rest all you want. I'll take care of you. Lucas nodded once more, his lips involuntarily curving into a small smile. Thank you, sir. And that's the end. I am genuinely so happy that this is all over with, so relieved that I'm finally done. Oh my god. The people were right. Some really bad, fucked up shit happens in here. Oh my god. I guess I was expecting the ending to be a bit more gory, but it was still unsettling. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this fanfiction, honestly. It's just fucking insane. But, yeah. I will see you guys in the next video.